Greetings, District 103 Toastmaster members. Hi, this is Cassandra, Diva of Dialogue Lee, your past District Director and Senior Advisor, and I welcome you to this recording of my webinar series featuring the session, Members Pivot to Pathways. Recording, you're asking? Yeah, let me explain. January 21st, which was Tuesday night, we had an awesome kickoff for my D103 Senior Advisor webinar series. It was a live webinar series where many members were with me by webinar and many members were with me by conference call. Yet we all had an opportunity to explore the topic of members pivot to pathways. This is a recording of that session. Yet for those of you that were with me last year in the fall, you recognize that Tuesday night was the recording. So tonight is actually the recording of the workshop. Yeah, there had to be something that went down, right? And it was all due to technology. Listen, Tuesday night went well. We had awesome participation. The content was great. The technology worked smoothly. It was the aftermath of the technology that became a problem. I accidentally deleted the recording link and found out that you could not get it back. Okay, I'm not proud that happened. However, I'm glad that happened. I'm glad it happened because I learned a couple of nuances with the technology, and I'm glad it happened because it now gives me an opportunity to record it for you again in a live webinar setting. Hey, I have new surroundings, I have an opportunity to test out some additional equipment, and it gives me a chance to still figure out how this technology works, such as on my end, being able to make sure I can move my slides. Now, here's the key. Since this is a recording of this, and there isn't anyone on the line with me, the housekeeping information you see before me, you won't need to worry about it for this call. However, any of the upcoming webinar series that you join me with, or that you will attend with me, I should say, you will notice the housekeeping tidbits that are there. And yes, those other sessions will be recorded. For instance, Tuesday, January 28th, I have a panel discussion with two past district governors who will help us to understand more about stepping into district leadership. Oh yeah, I must record that. And guess what? I will not delete the recording link. Yay! Having this experience gives me an opportunity to not make that mistake again. And speaking of again, the housekeeping tips that you see before you will apply to January 28th and all of the sessions coming up in February and March, yet you won't have to worry about it for tonight. Speaking of the district leadership, hey, I would like to give a special shout out to our District 103 trio members of this year. I would like to thank Club Growth Director Greg Thompson, Program Quality Director Joe McCarty, and District Director Ivory Gwen. If these gentlemen did not support the idea I had about the D103 Senior Advisor webinar series, hey, listen, I would not have an opportunity to record this session, nor would I have the opportunity to do any of the sessions at the end of January, February, or even in March. So again, gentlemen, thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate you helping me to share this information with our members. Members, you may not recognize that I've been a member of this organization for over 20 years. January 1998 is when I came on board. Think about January, or I should say I think about January as my anniversary. I just received my second DTM, yes, under the traditional program. So I've closed that chapter, and that's a perfect transition with this also being like my anniversary month as well. Yet I've had an opportunity to be in this organization for so long that I need to continuously grow. Hence, This webinar series is helping me to continue to grow my communication skills. Yet leadership skills, that's the reason why I joined Toastmasters in the first place. I became a member of the ABA Speakeasies back in January 1998. When I left corporate America, I eventually became involved with the Wrightwood Ashburn Overcomers, WAO Toastmasters Club, and I've been a member ever since. Yet in the leadership development, again, the reason why I joined Toastmasters, I've had an opportunity to serve in all 7 of the club officer roles. I've also had an opportunity to serve in district leadership roles, such as area governor, division governor, program quality director, and the first district director of District 103. Hey! Now, before I became the district director of District 103, I was program quality director. And in the role of program quality director, I had the opportunity of focusing in on education and training for the district. Many of you may not be aware of the fact that the program quality director for the district is very much like the vice president of education for the club. In my role as program quality director, I had to focus on quality. I had to focus on club membership, meaning making sure the members were receiving an excellent club environment in which to achieve their educational awards. I must have done a pretty good job, and I could pat myself on the back because I worked hard in that role and I really did focus on the members of our district, and because of that, I was given the prestigious honor of the Excellence in Program Quality Award from Toastmasters International. Yeah, I don't get a chance to toot that horn very much, and I must remember to share that with you. That way, when you're with me for these webinar series sessions, many of the topics are going to focus back on membership, recruitment, retention, excellence, quality, meaning some of the core areas I had to focus on as a program quality director, many of the core areas I had to focus on with my club growth director, and definitely having been the district director, those were all areas I had to focus on as well. I'm glad that I was able to receive that honor because it gave me an opportunity to put the skills in practice. And like I said, putting the skills in practice, I've been a member of the WAO Toastmasters Club for the last 15 years. We will be celebrating our 15th year anniversary in March. My membership in an active club has been invested in WAO for, as I said, for the 15th year. However, keep in mind, I did not start in a community club. I started in a corporate club, and I want to give thanks to the ABA Speakeasies for giving me my start because I would not be here today without them. Finally, speaking of me being here, I say my reason for being here on this earth is because of the mission I have of educating and empowering, as well as my passion for teaching through speaking. Not only is it my personal mission and passion, it's my professional mission and passion, which has eventually flowed right into my Toastmasters partnership, or I should say my Toastmasters ministry. And it gives me an opportunity each and every time I'm working with club members and club leaders and district leaders to use both my mission of education and empowerment and passion of teaching through speaking. And many of you know me as the diva of dialogue, and diva simply stands for divine inspiration vocally applied, which ties right into my passion of teaching through speaking. Leadership is why I joined. Leadership is what I've been experiencing firsthand, and Leadership Legacy Series is my special give back to our members and leaders in District 103. If you were to visit my website at www.divaofdialogue.com/Toastmasters, you'll see a new series that I created last year, actually. It's a series that gives me an opportunity to give my perspective, my advice, and feedback on certain areas of topics that are very important for district leaders and club leaders in particular. If you find that you're not sure how to use the Distinguished Club program, or you want to be able to vote members in, or you're an area director or a division director and you would like to do council meetings, those are simply examples of some of the special reports I've put together. Many of the reports have additional resources such as forms and templates and agendas, extra resources you can use to actually put the concepts into practice. I'm proud of the Leadership Legacy series. Again, it ties all into who I am and what I've done and the way in which I would like to give back to this great organization that has given to me. I say visit, download, and some of those resources from the Leadership Legacy series were actually on the registration page for this webinar session. Feel free to go back, download it, and add it to your collection. Now, I can get to the purpose of this recording. And the purpose of this particular session is members pivoting to pathways. I would like to make certain I cover what I mean by the pivot to pathways. I also want to make certain I cover why I recommend we pivot to pathways. And most importantly, I want to make sure that I can provide you with the how to pivot to pathways. Pivot to pathways, we know, is a reality. June 30th, 2020 is the last day that anyone such as myself can actually earn educational awards under the traditional educational program. Starting July 1st, 2020, my birthday, we will be pivoting to Pathways whether we want to or not. And that's simply because Pathways will be the only educational program that is offered by Toastmasters International. Again, tonight's session is to make sure that you have an opportunity to understand what it means to pivot to Pathways. Therefore, again, I want to make certain I cover the what, the why, and the how. Let's talk a little bit more about the what. When we discuss pivoting, I wanted to take us back to a pivot that we all had to experience, and this is more of a historical pivot that we did. There is an image before you that lets you know this is a resource that we once used that helped us with a very particular purpose. Many of you know exactly what that image is, and if I was to share with you this one as well, you pretty much have a good idea as to what those are. The first image is a wooden box, and it looks as if it has a clamp. And the second image is of two individuals using that very clamp on a big block of ice. Yeah, you got it. The icebox. The icebox was a real invention. The icebox actually existed in order to help us keep our food from perishing on us. Perishables, we hear often, meaning we know our food does not last forever. However, the purpose of the icebox was to ensure that we could hold on to our food a little bit longer. Well, the icebox eventually transitioned into what we know today to be the refrigerator. And I've placed before you two images of sleek refrigerators. We know that refrigerators have evolved over time as well. As a matter of fact, the two images I have before you of the refrigerators right now, both of them have the ice maker, the water spout. You can do that, get ice right from the door of the refrigerator. And the more advanced version of the refrigerator is where you can pretty much order your own groceries from a list that you write directly on your refrigerator door. Listen, the refrigerator has evolved. Yet the refrigerator evolved from the icebox. And the icebox, it existed for a certain purpose. The purpose of the icebox, as I said before, was to help to make sure we could hold on to our food a little bit longer. It's actually the same purpose of the refrigerator. The refrigerator simply has become much more technologically savvy over the years, yet it still meets the same purpose of helping us to keep our food a little longer. You know, someone had a vision of making sure our food could stay with us. We can enjoy that food a little bit longer. It didn't spoil. We didn't have to throw it away. And over the years, we've been able to keep the food and avoid it from spoiling by moving from the icebox to the refrigerator. Now, that's what I call a strategy. Strategy. We in Toastmasters hear that concept of strategy, and for those of us who are club leaders and we fill out a club success plan, we focus on creating a strategy to move our clubs toward distinguished success each and every year. Yet let's bring it back to this session here where we're talking about pivot to pathways. The pivot is going to be the strategy for you. Let me make it very clear, though, as to what a pivot actually means. Pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. A change in strategy without a change in vision. Let's go back to the refrigerator icebox concept for a moment. The vision was created, or I should say, the icebox helped with the original vision of keeping the food. The pivot, the change in strategy, then became the refrigerator. Toastmasters is doing the same thing, meaning it's not moving from the refrigerator to the icebox or from the icebox to the refrigerator. In a sense, though, it is. What's happening is the traditional educational program is very similar to the icebox. Pathways is very similar to the refrigerator. Vision is still the same. Strategy is what has changed. When we say pivot to pathways, we're letting you know it's a change in strategy without the change in vision. The strategy used to be a two-track educational system with Toastmasters International. For members who are seasoned like me, meaning we were around to know about the CC and the CL, and we had both of those manuals, and then we moved on to the advanced levels, you recognize there used to be two tracks, the leadership track and the communication track. Some members thought they could do one track or the other, when in reality the secret really is you did both of them at the same time. If you wanted your DTM in particular, you were going to work both of those tracks, communication and leadership. Some of you who are watching and listening to this message, you are more than likely thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not familiar with a two-track educational system. I've never even seen that before. If that's the case, I say, whoo, you're already in pathways. Now remember what I said, members who are seasoned like me, meaning we've been around for some time, we would have been in the two-track educational system. However, in February 2018, when District 103 received the Pathways program, all new members immediately and only were exposed to Pathways. Not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, February 2018, many of our members, and even some of our seasoned members too, so I don't want to put it off on only the new members, many of our seasoned members made the transition or made the pivot to Pathways. Pathways is online. Pathways does not have as many manuals as the traditional educational program had, and Pathways is the new way in which Toastmasters International is making sure we can become better communicators and leaders. Toastmasters International has a vision, has a purpose. Similar to how the icebox and the refrigerator, there was a vision, there was a purpose, yet there was also a pivot. So let's focus for a moment, if you will, on the mission statement of Toastmasters International. When we talk about this mission statement, it will help you to understand why there has been a pivot to a new way of educating us. The mission statement of Toastmasters International. Some of you, as you're listening and watching this, you already know that word for word. You do not need me to recite it for you. Yet there are those of you who have not yet ingrained it in your mind. Therefore, for the sake of clarity, I want to make sure that I can say it for us all. We empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. Yeah, the Toastmasters International mission statement tells us that they empower us to become more effective communicators and leaders. Very succinct statement. That's their overall organizational mission statement. And then we know we also have a statement that we can use that comes from them as well, and that is called the Envisioned Future Statement. Envisioned Future Statement. Did you know that Toastmasters International had what's known as the Envisioned Future Statement? I know as a member, I wasn't familiar with that statement. When I became a district leader, that's when I became exposed to the statement. Once they started to roll out pathways, that's when I started to notice the Envisioned Future Statement a lot more. Now, the Envision Future Statement is not something that we hear often. It's not recited at our club meetings, and many of us don't even really know where to find this statement. It's in the manuals. It's in the manuals. Anyhow, the Envision Future Statement, whether you're looking at a competent communication manual, an advanced communicator manual, a district leadership handbook, or club leadership handbook, you will find that the Toastmasters International Envision Future Statement says that they are to be the first choice provider of dynamic, high-value, experiential communication and leadership skills development. To be the first choice provider of dynamic, high-value, experiential communication and leadership skills development. Yeah, let that sink in. To be the first choice provider of dynamic, high-value, experiential communication and leadership skills development. They are letting you know as an organization, they want to be the first place where people go to in order to receive a dynamic, high-value opportunity to develop their communication and leadership skills. It's a phrase, again, we do not hear often. However, it is a vision that helps us to understand why there was a change in strategy. There's a key word in this Envision Future Statement that I want to point out for you, and that is the phrase that will help us to connect more to the pivot concept. The word I want to express for you is the word experiential. Experiential. Experiential is a phrase that I hear quite often in my career as a corporate trainer. Experiential is a phrase that we've been living out in the Toastmasters environment, even under the traditional educational program. Experiential is a new way in which we will now experience the Toastmasters Leadership and Development Program through the online version of Pathways. Experiential. Here's what experiential means. Relating to, derived from, or providing experience. Another way of looking at experiential is to look at it from the standpoint of it being involved or based on experience and observation. Relating to, derived from, or providing experience. Involving or based on experience and observation. Are you noticing the word that I'm emphasizing? Experience. Experience and experiential, of course, we know are related to each other, and more than likely you had already picked up on the fact that experiential was tied to experience. As a corporate trainer, when I'm hired to teach companies, employees, and staff members, they want to make certain that from the training I do, their employees can have that experience in which to help them to develop their skills, the experience to really get the information so they can use the information. That's what Toastmasters International actually wants for each and every one of us as members. With pathways, more so than ever before, we are going to have the experience of that leadership and communication skills development. We are a brand new district, meaning we're only 3 years old, which means we have not quite yet had most of our members go through the entire Pathways program, meaning we don't have many members who have completed all 5 levels. We have just a handful. In another 2 to 3 years, we're going to have hundreds of our members. And then in another 5 to 7, 10 years, we're going to have thousands of our members who will have gone through all 5 levels. And once you go through all 5 levels, you will be able to attest to the fact that you are having more of an experience with the leadership and communication skills development. See, this pivot was not by accident. The pivot to Pathways, that was a strategy of choice. Keep in mind our club mission statement. You have to remember that in the Toastmasters hierarchy, the members are the most important. And the members are the most important. They must be able to have an environment in which to have their skills developed. And that's why Toastmasters International stresses the club. Members join a club first, and then you branch out to the area, the division, and the district. Yet it's the club environment that is extremely important, which is why they spent time revising back in 2011 the club mission statement. Many of your clubs are using the club mission statement. You recite it at every single meeting, whether it's your sergeant at arms, your club president, your meeting Toastmaster, or every single member and guest in the room. You make certain that the words of the club mission statement are spoken so people can hear it, understand it, and embody it. See, that club mission statement lets us know that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Many clubs take that mission statement and they personalize it. I love on Tuesday how I had an opportunity to connect with Amy Sagami. Amy, who's a member of the Viewmasters Toastmasters Club. Viewmasters could definitely be plugged into this statement, where the statement now reads, Viewmasters Toastmasters Club provides a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. On Tuesday night, I also had an opportunity to connect with our newly installed and newly minted DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster, Cassandra Griffin of our South Suburban Toastmasters Club. Hey, being a part of South Suburban Toastmasters Club, I know Sandra Griffin's club is mentioning the mission statement with their name in it. South Suburban Toastmasters Club provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. You get the gist. We can go through and plug in every single club name of District 103. We can plug in every single club name of every district within Toastmasters International, and it will personalize this mission statement to help you understand why your club exists. Your members come to your clubs to partake at the foundational level in that growth as a leader and communicator. And that is why the environment of your clubs must be positive, must be supportive, and to go back to my program quality days, and it must be a quality club environment. Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment because I want to bring us back to the purpose of this session. Remember, the purpose of this session is to pivot. Pivot to pathways. With our members using our club environments, that's the first place in which members should be pivoting to pathways. And again, it gives them an opportunity to experience communication and leadership skills development. Whew, this pivot is exciting. Speaking of being exciting, I want you to take an opportunity when you get a chance to visit www.toastmasters.org. I want you to click on the Pathways tab, and I want you to read that first page about the Pathways program. It's the page that says, "Welcome to Pathways." See, that page lets you know that Toastmasters Pathways program is a learning experience, an exciting, flexible, and interactive way to develop your skills and help others in your club develop theirs. I'm allowing that phrase to resonate with me because I'm thinking about in my club how some of my members have not yet embraced the concept of pivoting to pathways. In your clubs, you could be experiencing the same thing. It's not my new members only that are not quite pivoting to pathways. It's my seasoned members in particular that are not yet pivoting to pathways. When I think back to the language of this welcome page for pathways, it says how pathways is a learning experience that's exciting and that is flexible and that is interactive, and it helps them to develop their skills as they also help us to develop our skills. Meaning, some of your members join Toastmasters to help support and serve others. There's language in that welcome page that you can use to encourage those members to make the pivot. The buzzwords of exciting and interactive and flexible are also words you could use to encourage your members who are hesitating to pivot over to pathways because they think it'll be hard or they think it'll be boring because it's all online. Use those buzzwords of flexible and exciting and interactive to encourage them to make the pivot as well. See, the pivot to pathways, oh, it's real. As I said, June 30th, 2020 is the last day anyone can access and use the traditional program. After that, the traditional program is gone forever. The only thing we will have to develop our leadership and communication skills will be pathways. It's not a bad thing, though. Pathways is exciting. I'm going back to that exciting word for a moment because I'm thinking about not only in my club, yet around District 103, and even I had an opportunity to hang out with some of my former District 30 colleagues. Man, there are people who are on fire about this Pathways program. The information they're learning, the knowledge they're gaining, the experiences they're having, they are doing extremely well with taking in this information and making that pivot. And they're not afraid to share that with us. Sharing with us, that brings me to being able to share with you. It is at this point that I want to share with you how we all can make the pivot to pathways. It is not as hard as we think, yet it will require work. Hey, listen, I say being a part of Toastmasters requires work. Whether you're a member, a club leader, or a district leader, it requires work, which means Pathways is absolutely no different. It is going to require that we put forth a new program for ourselves in order to learn what this program is offering us. That way, we get out of the program what it's intended to do, and that is to help make us better communicators and leaders. Now remember, the pivot is just simply a change in strategy without a change in vision. The vision is always to make certain that we can be in this program and leave this program better communicators and leaders. Well, let me tell you how we can use Pathways as we make that pivot and still achieve that mission or that vision. Pivot to Pathways. That's our plan. Before I get there, I want to pause for a moment because I want to make certain that I mention a resource for all club leaders. And club leaders, I'm speaking to you in particular right now. Toastmasters International has the Club Leadership Handbook, and many of you already know that. If you did the first round of club officer training, or even if you're going through the second round of club officer training right now, you will find that the Club Leadership Handbook is constantly referred to. As a club leader, I call that your Bible. It helps you to know all about your duties, your responsibilities. It gives you timelines and calendars. It lets you know additional resources that you can use in particular for your role, yet in general for all club officer roles of your club. www.toastmasters.org is how you can find the Club Leadership Handbook. Here's why I'm referring to it. Club leaders, I want you to make certain that you download your personal copy to your computer. If you are currently serving right now as a club president, vice president of education, club secretary, I want you to make certain that you definitely have a copy of this because it now talks about your role as base camp manager in Pathways. Did you know that you had the new responsibility of being a base camp manager? Yeah, I'm chuckling because I know some of you are thinking I'm crazy for even asking that question. Yet those of you who are seasoned or very aware, you know exactly why I'm asking that question. There are some club officers who are presidents, VPEs, and secretaries who had absolutely no clue they were now responsible for helping to manage Pathways in their clubs. Well, it is very important, club leaders, all of you, to use Pathways. It is even more important for the club base camp managers to know their duties and responsibilities. Again, I want club officers, I want you to download that leadership handbook, and presidents, vice presidents of education, and secretaries, you in particular, review the information for your base camp manager duties. I keep mentioning the phrase base camp manager, which leads my brain to think about the fact that I want you to also be aware of the base camp manager training that District 103 does in particular. We have a guru. I call her the guru. I know District 103 leaders think of her as the guru, and we tell her this all the time because she is. She's one of our Pathways gurus, and she's been hitting the ground running since February 2018 when District 103 got the Pathways program. Yep, you know her. Many of you are thinking in the back of your head, is she talking about Sandra Washington? I absolutely am. Sandra Washington has been doing this year a phenomenal job of keeping consistent programs going on Pathways. Whether you see her at a District 103 Toastmasters Leadership Institute or at a club officer training sponsored by our divisions, or even now she's doing special webinars herself along with live hands-on sessions for Pathways. She has spent quite a bit of time focusing on the base camp managers. Stay tuned to your email or your junk mail folder. Be sure to watch out for a message from District 103 Toastmasters that tells you of her next session. She's focusing in on the base camp managers because there's so much to know, and for those three roles in particular, so much to do in managing Pathways. And speaking of so much to do, I want to bring up one final point for club leaders. Club leaders, There is so much to do with pathways, yet you have to start with yourself individually by making certain that you're using the Pathways program. There's a report that Toastmasters International has that is called the Pathways Adoption Rates report. Not program, but it's the Pathways Adoption Rates report. This is a report that I became exposed to back in, I want to say it was June. No, actually it was April 2019. The last version of the report I have is from last year. I need to make certain that I get a personal copy of the most recent version of District 103's Pathways Adoption Rate. Yet let me give you a summary overview of what that report tells us. It basically, for every single district within Toastmasters International, it tells the district leaders exactly which of the clubs in our districts are using the Pathways program based on the number of members that are using the program, the number of club officers that are using the programs too. So for every club, your club is on this list. Your club is listed by your division, by your area, and it's also telling us which of your, and not necessarily which members per se, yet the percentage and the number of your officers and members that are using Pathways. I remember back in April of last year, our numbers as a district were not too bad. They weren't too bad. And I was pleased to see that they were not at the bottom of the ranking, yet I also noticed they were not at the top of the list either. See, there are some districts that had Pathways long before District 103 did. Yet I recognize that even though District 103 has only had Pathways since February of 2018, many of our members and club officers are still resistant to using Pathways. Everyone, let's make the pivot. Officers, it is important for you to make the pivot because that's being monitored. Yeah, it's monitoring your members as well, yet you are the role models, club officers, of your clubs. And that's why the Pathways Adoption Rate report is monitoring the percentage of our officers that are using the Pathways program. Therefore, again, as I begin to talk about this concept of pivot to Pathways and how in particular we can pivot to Pathways, I wanted to pause for a moment and just spend some attention with the club officers. Keep in mind, your club leadership handbook is now giving you more details on your base camp manager role. District 103 is putting an extensive effort in making sure you have more educational information on how to be a base camp manager. And then Toastmasters International is monitoring those officers as well as members who are pivoting to Pathways. Let's make certain that we can increase that number of our adoption rate in District 103 by having you and all of your officers and members take on Pathways. Now, let's talk about how we can take it on in particular. The 5-step action plan to pivot to Pathways is what I call it, pivot. You had already figured out that pivot stood for something, and that was because when you saw the word pivot, each letter was capitalized, there was a period behind it, and it gave you a clue that it meant something. Similar to my speaking name, Diva of Dialogue. Well, Diva stands for Divine Inspiration Vocally Applied. Here, pivot stands for prepare, investigate, volunteer, overcome, and talk up. All 5 of those are action words. Action words that if we follow them, those action words will allow us to engage more in and get more out of the Pathways program. Let's look at each one of them individually. Prepare. Prepare is a way for you to make certain that you figure out your goals that you want to achieve using this new Pathways program. I'm backtracking for a moment because I know some of you are more than likely thinking, well, Cassandra, my overall goal is to become a better communicator and leader. Well, won't Pathways allow me to do that? It will. It will. Yeah, remember how when we had manuals, for those of us that experienced the manuals, remember we still had to figure out the goals that we wanted to achieve. When we moved into the advanced manuals, we knew we were developing our communication skills, yet we needed to figure out which communication skills or in what ways we wanted to develop our communication skills. That way we could choose between the advanced manuals of humorous speaking versus speaking on video. We needed to be very clear on what we wanted to accomplish next. Think about that to be the same goal for pathways. What do we want to accomplish next? As I said, July 1st, 2020 is the day that pathways will be it. There will be nothing else to choose from. However, Pathways has many paths in which you can choose. The document that I have before you is one of my favorite resources. It is a great one-page document that gives you a quick overview of the competencies, and Toastmasters International says there are 5 core competencies that the Pathways program helps you to work on, and there are 11 paths in which you can work on those competencies. One of the key reasons why I love this handout is because it takes all 5 of those competencies and it pairs it against all 11 paths. That way you can see that all 11 paths will make certain that you can achieve competency number 1 of public speaking, as well as competency number 5 of confidence. All 11 paths cover that. However, not all 11 paths will help you to develop competency number 2 of interpersonal communication, or even competency number 3 of strategic leadership, and finally, competency number 4 of management. Not all 11 paths will help you to develop those competencies, yet each path gives you at least 2 competencies in which you can become proficient. I love this handout for a second reason, because it becomes a quick cheat sheet that helps you to know exactly which path will allow you to develop which competency, and it also gives you a very brief summary of that path as well. Many people will take the assessment, the Pathways assessment, to figure out their path, yet this cheat sheet, the third and final reason I really love it, is because you can use this cheat sheet to determine your path without having to take the Pathways assessment. Plan what you want to achieve next from Pathways. Figure out what you want to accomplish as a member who uses Pathways. Understand exactly how the 11 paths and the 5 core competencies can benefit you and what you're doing in Toastmasters and outside of Toastmasters. When you do all of those things will help you to prepare. Prepare yourself to use the Pathways program by making sure you figure out what you want to accomplish, get out of, and further develop in the Pathways program. Again, prepare. Now, our second action statement, or our second action word that we can follow in our pivot plan, is to investigate. Investigate. Investigate is an opportunity for you to dig deep, learn more, and gain knowledge. Whew. I sigh. I shake my head on this because I'm just thinking, oh my, OMG, you know, OMG. Let me use that social media, or as my niece would say, the new texting lingo. OMG. There is so much information about Pathways. Remember I told you earlier, be sure to go to www.toastmasters.org and click on the Pathways tab. That is your first window to learning more information about Pathways right there online. I have before you a special handout that I put together that gives you key information on the 5 Pathways levels. See, each of the Pathways levels do something very specific. Each of the Pathways levels will also have very specific requirements. Yeah, who knows all of that if the majority of our members have yet to even go through level number 2? See, listen, Preparing yourself, knowing what you want to accomplish, what you want to achieve, and what more you want to do in this Toastmasters program using pathways is one part of the pivot plan. The other part of the pivot plan is to learn information. There is much you don't know, and you really won't know what you don't know until you get there, right? And that's how it was with the traditional program, yet at least start with basic foundational information. Don't be afraid to download this resource that I have before you. Don't be afraid to download the resources that Toastmasters International is providing you for Pathways. See, Pathways has a lot of ins and outs. However, the ins and outs are strategically designed to help you on this pivot. Remember, you are going to become a better communicator and leader. And each of the 5 levels of Pathways will help you to get there. And each of the paths in Pathways will help you to get there too. So I say dig deep, do your research, figure out what's going on with this program. Remember when I was talking about the members who are so excited about Pathways and they're taking information in and they're not afraid to share information about Pathways? They are individuals who right now are consistently doing the investigate action of our pivot plan. I want you to join them, become a part of that crew, make certain that you investigate as well. Be part of the pivot. Now, I've already focused on the P, prepare, and we just looked at the I of investigate. Now, let's talk about the V, the third step in this action plan, volunteer. Volunteer is a way for you to, of course, engage more by assisting others. Now, in particular, Level 2 of Pathways has something called the Toastmasters International Mentoring Program. That portion of Level 2 is strategically designed to help you help others. It's a way for you to make sure that you're learning more about the Pathways program so that way you can assist others with knowing about the Pathways program as well. Yet, I don't want to limit that particular path to only learning about Pathways because you know how Toastmasters International does it. They tell you what the overall objective is of anything we do, and then they allow you to enhance it with your own topics and your own experiences. Yet, I'm still saying pivot. Volunteer. Learn as much as you can about Pathways so you can share it with other people. Do that inside of your club and do that outside of your club as well. Here's how I want you to do that outside of your club. District 103 has the program called Club Ambassador. For those of us that were part of District 30, we remember how District 30 consistently used the Club Ambassador program. I'm proud to say when I was district director, we rolled out the District 103 Club Ambassador program. That was something we brought with us from District 30. We made certain that District 103 kept that tradition. The District 103 Club Ambassador program is an awesome way to learn from other clubs, other club members, other club leaders, and it's also a way to make certain that you understand ways in which you can help to enhance your club environment. Remember, it's about having a quality club environment. When your club can have a quality club environment, your members can now grow. They can grow as a leader, they can grow as a member, and if they're growing, hey, so is your membership. The Club Ambassador Program is a great way to go out of let me rephrase it this way since I'm stumbling over my words. My brain is running fast because I'm thinking the Club Ambassador Program is such an awesome way for you as a member to step outside of your own club environment, to branch out into other club environments, and to learn other things, yet you can share information as well. One of the aspects of knowledge I want you to consider sharing when you are a club ambassador is information on Pathways. Volunteer. Share what you learn. Share what you know with others inside and outside of your club about Pathways. Whether you're mentoring, whether you're serving as a club ambassador, you can volunteer with this pivot. Now remember, with Pivot, we prepare, figuring out what we want to gain and what we want to know. We will investigate, doing research, learning what we don't know, and then we'll volunteer. We will help others and we will share with others what we know. I want you, though, to also overcome. That fourth action statement of our pivot plan resonates with me in particular because personally, I had to overcome my thoughts about pathways when I was district director. Being the first district director of a brand new district, and then 8 months later having to roll out something completely new and different, oh, I had my doubts that it was even feasible for us to do it. I had conversations with Toastmasters International headquarters staff about, why does District 103 need to get it now? Can we wait? I thought we were going to be later on the rollout system. And are you sure we must do it now? Amongst other things that I talked to them about. Yet those were some of the primary concerns. I had to overcome my doubts. I had to overcome my concern about the length of time in which we were rolling out the program. And I also had to overcome the negative thoughts and comments that people shared with me about the program. There were many District 103 Toastmaster members who didn't like the thought of us getting pathways more than I did. And they were pretty vocal about it. Whether they were calling me on the phone or sending me emails or telling me face-to-face, oh, there was much that I had to overcome. Yet I first had to start with myself. I had to overcome the thoughts I had about pathways. I had to overcome the uncertainty I had about the district being able to roll the program out effectively to the point where our members could adequately use the program. Whew. I have to, in this moment, give a shout out to the 36 club ambassadors. Let me rephrase it. They were the 36 pathways ambassadors and guides. And many of you know them because they came to your clubs, they gave you firsthand training on pathways, and I tell you, those 36 members who are our initial volunteers that helped us roll out this pathways program, kudos to you. You were a part of the process that helped me to overcome any of the doubt that I had about us rolling out this program. Headquarters staff played the major role. I then started to prepare and to investigate and really investigate from a district leader standpoint how this Pathways program would work. Yet I found I had to overcome. When I overcame my own doubts, my own frustrations, my own uncertainties, I was able to also assist others with overcoming as well. Or I should say, to at least overcome enough not to complain to me anymore. Well, here's the key. Everyone has something negative to say or negative to think about pathways. Be very mindful for yourself not to fall into that trap. Hey, listen. First of all, most of us are stressing out and not really liking this thought of pathways because A, we may have to rush through the traditional program in order to get toward the DTM, or we may not simply like the change of it all. Yet there could also be other reasons too. Yeah, here's my point about overcome. Overcome is the fourth step in our action plan to pivot to pathways because there will be a lot of doubt. There will be the naysayers, and you could be the primary naysayer and doubter of them all. Watch out for that. Watch out for that. Watch your mindset. Watch your word choice. And also, watch your actions when it comes to pathways. Don't let the stress overwhelm you. Take it slow. Take it one step at a time. Understand that we had members in the traditional program And I paused for a moment because I'm thinking it wasn't even the CC at that time, the example I'm thinking of. We had what was known as the CTM. We had members that never earned a Distinguished Toastmaster Award under the traditional program, and they were in the organization over 20 years. We had members that never even earned the Competent Toastmaster Award, yep, the CTM, and they were in the organization for over 10 years. So here's my point. Pathways still gives you the opportunity to take your time and to learn it, yet although you'll have the face-to-face club exposure plus the online learning experience, you can still take it at a pace that will help you to erase the doubt, that can help you to break through the fear, that will help you to make sure you are not the negative person in your club environment about Pathways. It's new. See it as a journey. Overcome any of the negativity by finding something good, something positive with this new learning experience. Make sure you overcome because it is a part of the pivot. Finally, our last step in pivot is to talk up. I say that talk up is tied to volunteer. Talk up is the last step because it gives you an opportunity to, of course, share. Yet here's something additional with the talk up concept. I am not sure if you are familiar with the fact that Pathways offers you an opportunity to become very social with your fellow members. Pathways has something called badges. Badges are a great way to talk up and to encourage your fellow club members to keep moving forward, keep developing their skill, and to keep doing the good that they're doing right now with the Pathways program. When you go into your Pathways base camp, and this is you being a member going into your base camp where you can see your files, your records, your progress, your paths, and all of the assignments to the levels of your path. I want you to investigate the badges. Yeah, badges. I know it sounds a little odd. Yeah, it's called badges. Badges are a social way for you to share with members in your clubs, yet your members in your clubs can also share with you. I want you to investigate your back office or your base camp to see if any of your members have sent you badges already. I want you to investigate what the actual badges are, and I want you to commit to sending your members a badge at your next meeting. There are 4 different badges to choose from. There's what's known as the collaborative badge, the innovative badge, the inspirational badge, and the exceptional badge. Each of the badges have a certain purpose and certain reason, and that's where I want you to investigate to find out more about them. The badges are fun. The badges gives you an opportunity to talk up. It gives you a chance to share with each other. I tell you, Toastmasters International said that base camp or that Toastmasters learning experience with this Pathways program would be interactive. The badges allow us to have that interactivity. And if you have questions about the badges or anything that I mentioned in this segment, feel free to drop me an email. You can also learn more information about badges when you take any of Sandra Washington classes. Her webinar sessions or even her live training sessions, she does cover that sometimes, and if she doesn't at the session you're at, simply ask her. She's someone who's well-versed in understanding more about the badges. She would definitely give you information on that. I know on Tuesday night we had a conversation about the badges and someone asked the question about the badges and would the members be able to see the badges in their base camp. And I know from the first-hand experience of sending someone a badge, I learned that she had to see it because she saw I sent her something, but she didn't know what it was. Yet I have not yet received a badge. So I couldn't say if in my own base camp I saw the badge. Yet luckily one of our District 103 members was on the call and she actually confirmed, yes, if you get a badge, you will see the badge in your base camp. So that was a great thing to know. And as I said, any questions about the nuances of pathways, you can drop me an email here, or you can definitely connect with Sandra Washington with her next training, and she will help to ensure you know all that you can know about pathways. Yeah, let me be very much of a challenger here, and that's simply because I'm putting on my district leader hat here. And not just my district leader hat, but my club leader hat too. See, there are times when we don't know what we don't know, and there will be times when we need to know what we must know, and we can't wait on someone else to tell us about it. So remember, prepare and investigate. Those first two steps, especially that second step of our pivot plan, the second step of the pivot plan is what you're going to be using the most. Get out there, find out information, learn what you need to know, and if all else fails, reach out to headquarters because they would love to give you the answers as well. Whew, that was quite a bit of information. You can only imagine how it went on Tuesday night. And as I said, it was a great session. It went so well that we had a great interaction. People were looking forward to the recording. And as I said, unfortunately, I made a slip up. This time, though, I will not make the slip up because I really want you to have the recording before the weekend, and that's why I took the time again to make certain that you could have a brand new, fresh link. You won't hear the Q&A portion, yet you can drop me an email, and as I said, you can reach out to Sandra Washington. Yet before I let you go, I want to make sure I share with you, as I shared with the participants on Tuesday night, keep a lookout for a couple of District 103 events that are coming up. You already know District 103 sends you quite a bit of information, especially as we're coming up on our district-sponsored events. Anytime there's a club officer training, anytime there's a conference, anytime there's something going on that we want you to know about, we send you an email that comes from District 103 Toastmasters. It's typically a constant contact message, and it might end up in your junk mail folder, though. Go out there, search for it, because you're going to be receiving emails, and you already have been receiving emails on a couple of things that are happening immediately. First off, I want to just congratulate any club members that have already advanced to the area speech contest. I know right now from January 1st until February 29th, we are in the season of all of our area contests. Some of the areas are having a single contest. Most of the areas are having joint contests. Yet if you won your club's table topics and or international speech contest, good luck at your area contest. Again, those are running until February 29th. The end of January has two special deadline dates, and I should not say two special deadline dates. It's one deadline date for two special events. The first deadline that is coming up is for any of you who would love to serve as a district leader. The 2020-2021 club year will start on July 1st. We are right now looking for the members of our district who would like to serve as a district director, program quality director, club growth director, or a division director for any of our 5 divisions. If you're interested, or if you know someone who's interested, I would like for you to make certain that you submit your call for nomination paperwork by January 31st. January 31st is the very last day that we can accept any paperwork. So that means get it in by 11:59 p.m. on January 31st. Keep in mind, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate someone else. Yet if you're interested in serving as a district leader, make certain you get the paperwork in. Also, January 31st is the deadline date for submitting a proposal if you would like to speak at the District 103 annual conference. Many of you over the years have attended the conferences. We used to call them the fall conference and the spring conference. Well, now, since districts only do one conference, it's called the annual conference, and it's held in the spring month, so April or May. District 103 is actually doing our annual conference at the end of April. Are you interested in speaking? Do you know someone who is a good speaker who could present a great workshop at the annual conference? If you do, let them know about the call, or as it's actually entitled, the Request for Speakers Proposal, the RFP. If you know someone who would love to submit an RFP, tell them they have until January 31st to do so. We're looking for speakers who can speak on and deliver topics, or to deliver a workshop on 6 different topics, or I should say one of 6 different topics. Don't think you're going to speak on all 6 of the topics. The annual conference committee right now is looking for District 103 members who would love to speak at the annual conference, and they are requesting that you submit a request for speaker proposal. And as I said, that deadline is January 31st. So 2 deadlines, or 2 events that have deadlines on January 31st. Make certain that you can get the paperwork out, or to get the paperwork out to the people that you're going to make certain they know about it, and to get the paperwork back to us so we can have it by that deadline. Speaking of deadlines, February 29th is the deadline for club officers being trained. Does your club officers focus on making sure they get trained in the first round and the second round? Does your club also focus on making sure you have at least a minimum of 4 officers trained each round? Well, keep in mind, if you had 4 or more of your club officers trained in the first round and you have not yet attended a second round session, please check your email for some of those makeup sessions that are happening downtown at AT&T. There will be more makeup sessions happening because we have until February 29th to make sure we can get as many club officers trained as possible. There could potentially be a special session out south at South Suburban College. Yeah, do not quote me on that. Just check your junk mail folder for a message from District 103 that will tell you all of the upcoming sessions. I do believe there is a session happening at the end of January. Yet again, check your email for those details. Still more events. March will be division contests. March is a special educational program. March has an open house for district leaders. And then April is our annual conference.